said so far, I think we all can agree what we need to talk about is how do you go, what is that unified front? Does that mean that recognize, here are the groups that we're talking about, you may renters, a clergy coalition, there's some activists, there's some civil rights individuals, those people that are in the community, that live in that community, local officials, people that are involved in this community. How do we decide what is a good element and a bad element? How do we address, how do we separate the two? That's what we have not, I would believe, have not definitively described how we're going to do that.
Can I jump in, Bishop,
Please.
for a second? First of all, let me say thank you guys for entertaining my company here at the request of the chief, who I've been in contact with over the last few days, and on behalf of Noble National, thank you very much. But that is a great question you asked. In fact, I was thinking about that on the plane here. But here's an interesting observation I made just from afar, and I'm from afar, and I'm very mindful of that, is that when all this first started, you couldn't separate who were, well, you could. I mean, you saw a lot of good people out there marching, right, who have the right to protest and march. But integrated in that group, we know were troublemakers. And what more recently happened the other night, it appears that the troublemakers separated themselves out. Police stood back as they took control of that storefront. That was the element, quite frankly, we got to be able to let the police go after. And we got to support the police to do that. Because the sooner we can get that element out of the way, and that's what you're going to, then the other folks who are protesting in good faith, they can continue to do so, but we've lessened the effect of those who are not there for the right reasons, and we have those type of opportunities. I mean, does that make sense to you?
I guess what I'm saying, so I can be more explicit what I'm making reference to, is that when we see those individuals doing some things, we got to be mindful of the people that are peaceful there. For example, we can't throw tear gas into the crowd. That is unacceptable.
No.
What I'm saying, if you see someone doing something wrong, we need to address that. But you don't, what happens is when you try to put everybody in the same bowl, you got kids out there, and young mothers and grandmamas out there, that's a problem. And what I'm saying to you is that we got to understand, how do we separate that? If you see something, it's one, the other thing is, how do you not encourage that type of activity? Do we have those tanks? Do we have people pointing guns at folks when they shouldn't be? These are things that we can do ourselves to help ourselves. But at the same time, recognize there's responsibility as police officers, as safety people. We got to protect the public and its property. We got to do the right thing. But people got to see us in the light that we're doing that, and we cannot say that a reporter can't report or a person can't assemble properly. We can't find ourselves in that situation, because that is unacceptable. So what I'm asking you is that as you go forward, how do we tell the difference? What do we give our officials the information about what they need, how to make the discernment? Because remember now, the people that we put in there to do this, the police officers, all of them are not activists. They're looking at it from a different point of view.
One of the things I wanted to share with you is that I've pretty much stayed behind the scenes with this thus far, but I'm really, really upset, and I'm upset on both sides, because the community as a whole has to have some understanding too. And we may have to just outline what that is that those civilians need to have as an understanding. Right now, we've got like a centipede on steroids, and you got to get some control and eliminate it. We have too many factions. I like the fact that you all are beginning to coalesce, and the voice is going to come from one. But at the end of the day, we live in a civilized society, and we have identified policing and enforcement, and it has certain guidelines. I don't believe any of those should be taken off the table, because if you do that, then we become uncivilized, and we don't want that. That's not what we want. We also want to make sure that we have the best out there enforcing. And I'm not taking anything away from Ferguson Police Department,
I'm just listening.
but you have not had the experiences that some of the others have had. And I'm sure you may have had some of the training, but training and experience are two different things. And I know that really kind of hampered what happened initially, because it was an unknown, and we just did whatever we could do at the moment. So what we have to do now is we got to take those who are expertly trained to handle these situations, because I saw no one in any picture on TV that I probably couldn't bring down on my own without a gun or anything. So I know what the police can do who have been trained properly to handle those situations. So I want to see those things explained. I want to see the public understand, yes, you have a right to assemble, you have freedom of speech, but you do not have right to impede traffic, to cause harm to others, to destroy businesses, and all those other things that come under unlawful behavior. And let's just put it out there over and over again.
But let me say this, and I'm just speaking from my experience as a chief for a moment, because I want to be very mindful of my reason here, and my reason is to help us move forward, and that's the theme of why I asked to meet with you all. But what you're saying is absolutely correct. But the piece we have to remember is that is still your police chief.
Absolutely.
And so one thing that needs to happen going forward, whatever decisions are made, he needs to begin to make those decisions in concert with many of you sitting around this table.